Hey, VidCon, Michael here. Just like on the screen. Okay, look, we've talked about a lot of really important stuff today. You've heard about YouTube, but honestly, I know what you're all really wondering. What if YouTube was an actual tube? I'm glad you asked. So earlier today, I found myself in a room with a bunch of educational creators. Destin from Smarter Every Day, Brady Heron from literally 8 billion channels, and Henry from Minute Physics. And I said, guys, could you please do this work for me? And we calculated, given the number of minutes watched per second on YouTube, what that tube of videos would look like if they were physical. So here we go. Imagine that we're delivering videos not from servers through electrical binary things, but instead on actual physical DVDs. And imagine a tube just wide enough to fit a stack of them through, okay? Here's the thing. How fast would that stream of DVDs have to move? We did the math, and to keep up with the demand, where you've got something like, 27,000 hours added to YouTube every hour, that only means 2 extra DVDs thrown in a second. But if you look at the, 1 billion hours watched per day, that's the equivalent of a tube carrying a stack of DVDs rushing by at 52 miles per hour. That's what it would take to deliver everything that people are watching. Given that, you might now ask the question, how do I, as a creator, in the midst of that, get noticed? And how do I know if I'm doing a good job or not? Well, to that, I would like to tell a story about the 1968 Sunday Times Golden Globe sailboat race. Almost 50 years ago, the Sunday Times in London decided to throw a competition. Who could be the first person to sail around the Earth, to circumnavigate it, only using wind power alone? Really dangerous, really lonely, really scary. And one guy named Bernard Montessier set out, and it was excruciatingly boring. He was surrounded most of the time by nothing but an infinite horizon. He was alone. And it's very easy in that kind of a scenario to feel totally insignificant, but also totally awesome, because everything you do is just what you want to do. He wrote in his journals that he felt like an atom, but also like God. So, but it's also very dangerous. I mean, we're talking 6 to 8 months alone on a sailboat in the middle of the ocean in the 60s. You can't pull up your GPS or call your friends or check Twitter or anything. You're alone. And if you die, no one even finds out for a long time. But after about 6 months of traveling, down from England, down the bottom of Africa, through the southern Indian Ocean, underneath Australia, all the way across the Pacific, and then underneath South America, he was spotted around the Falkland Islands, headed back up the Atlantic to England. And everyone in England freaked out. They started planning celebrations. Montessier was going to be the first person to sail around the world alone. And he knew that this was about to happen. He was about to win a huge cash prize and go down in the history books. But in his journals, he started writing about this thing he was fixated on. He said, the 2 most terrible things that can happen to a person are for them to not achieve their dream, or for them to achieve their dream. And so he wrote a message that he slingshot onto a passing ship that read, and I'm paraphrasing, I'm going to just keep going because I like the sea and I want to save my soul. And he stopped going towards England and he turned east and he continued around the world. 2/3 of the way around, landed in Tahiti and lived there with his wife for a long time, pretty much just the 2 of them. What does that have to do with anything? Well, luckily, I think it has something to do with something, because my father only ever gave me one piece of advice. He said, Michael, don't peak too soon. And I've lived that way. I've lived always kind of afraid to set goals and to really say, like, here's what I want to accomplish in a year or in a week, or here's where I want to be when I retire. I just do what I'm passionate about today. And YouTube allows me to do that, and it allows me to find an audience that is interested in that. So the cool part is that I can just do whatever I love, and then, you know, once I've done something, I can say, yeah, that's what I meant to do. And I never wind up in this uncomfortable situation of not reaching a goal and feeling like I failed, when in reality, just what I want to do and my goals changed. And that's allowed me as a creator to evolve along with my audience. As they've grown up, as the educational genre has changed, I've always been able to change as well. So in a way, I guess my recommendation is, in this tube of DVDs flinging by you at freeway speeds, it's not, the key really isn't to figure out how to get noticed, but it's how to make sure that you're always loving what you are doing and not to start worrying about, yeah, exactly, right? See, I told you that there was a point to this story. And you might still say to yourself, well, but wait a second, wouldn't it be cool to love what you're doing and win a huge cash prize and go down in the history books? And I would say that yes to that. Someone did win the Sunday Times Golden Globe sailboat race. But we're not talking about him today. It's not as interesting. Thank you.